The 20th century is remembered for its wars, revolutions, and the race to the stars. But beneath all this, something quieter was taking root. A parallel revolution, one not of nations, but of consciousness. Spiritual teachers began emerging across the globe, radically different, scattered across geography, tradition, and thought, yet all whispering the same unspoken question. What does it mean to truly wake up? Some challenged authority, others sat in silence. Some were hailed as gods, others dismantled every form of worship. This is not the story of one sage. It is the story of 8. 8 paths, 8 awakenings. Each unlocking a new doorway to the self, each changing India from the inside out. In the early 20th century, India stood at a crossroads. Colonial rule was deepening its grip. The freedom movement was rising. And quietly, far from political rallies and protests, a new kind of awakening was beginning. 2 significant figures were born. One rejects all systems of belief, and the other quietly transforms thousands with just his presence. Jiddu Krishnamurti, born in 1895 in South India, was discovered at a young age by the Theosophical Society. They believed he was destined to be the world teacher, a messiah figure for all of humanity. His life was carefully shaped. Global tours, followers, and an entire international organization built around him. But in 1929, everything changed. At a large gathering in the Netherlands, Krishnamurti made a decision that shocked the world. He dissolved the organization created in his name. His statement was simple and historic. Truth is the pathless land. With that, he stepped away from every spiritual hierarchy, rejecting doctrines, rituals, and even the role of the guru. While Krishnamurti's rejection echoed across the world, another figure was quietly drawing seekers in the Himalayan foothills. Neem Karoli Baba, born between 1900 and 1905 in Akbarpur in the Firozabad district of Uttar Pradesh. He never gave lectures. He never wrote books. He rarely appeared in the media. But people still came to the ashram, not drawn by his teachings, but only by his presence. A simple sadhu, known for his deep devotion to Lord Hanuman. There were no grand ceremonies, but those who came with problems often left transformed. These 2 men represented 2 powerful currents in modern Indian spirituality. One publicly questioned all belief systems. The other embodied a silent, experiential faith. And as the 1930s approached, three more spiritual forces were quietly rising, and no one knows that. One will spend his entire life questioning the very true nature of reality. Second, will walk away from his business life and speak only through silence. And the third will rise as a rebellious voice, challenging both social and spiritual norms. Their time hadn't come yet, but the stage was slowly beginning to set. By the 1930s, Jiddu Krishnamurti had already made headline by breaking away from the Theosophical Society. Now free from the label of a world teacher, he began his own quiet revolution and started giving talks across India, Europe, and the United States. In every talk, Krishnamurti questioned the foundations of human thought, religion, nationalism, identity, and fear. Meanwhile, far from public stages, Neem Karoli Baba still remained in quiet seclusion in the hills of Uttarakhand. In 1962, along with his close devotee Purnanand, he established the Neem Karoli Ashram in Kenchi. Over time, seekers from across the world began arriving at the ashram for spiritual guidance. Among the many seekers, one prominent name was Ram Das. Years later, global figures like Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg also made their pilgrimages to the ashram, though their visits took place after the passing of the Baba. Moving forward in the 1940s, apart from Neem Karoli Baba, there was another person in Lucknow who was on a journey of self-inquiry. H.W.L. Punja, later also known as Papaji, was a lifelong seeker of the divine. His search ended abruptly in 1944 after a single meeting with Ramana Maharishi. Just one silent moment with him and his lifelong search dissolved. Papaji didn't build an organization. He didn't start a movement. And yet, his influence rippled quietly across time, especially through the rise of modern Advaita Vedanta. Now, somewhere around the same time in Burma, a businessman named S.N. Goenka was facing intense physical and mental suffering. He tried all medical treatments, but there was no result. In desperation, he turned to Uba Khin, a meditation teacher, and that was the time when Goenka first discovered Vipassana. A simple technique of watching breath and body sensations. After doing it, his pain eased and his mind became quiet. Goenka was so moved by the old Buddhist technique that later he left his business life and dedicated himself to spreading Vipassana, not as a religion, but as a universal method of self-observation. Papaji pointed towards experience over ideology, and Goenka stressed the importance of detachment and purification of the mind through meditation. But there was one more person whose thought very much similar to these two, but in a rebellious way. A philosophy professor named Rajneesh, born in 1931 in Madhya Pradesh, was slowly gaining attention. He challenged both Eastern spiritual dogma and Western rationalism. He spoke on everything: sex, meditation, capitalism, love, ego, death. Where others said turn inward, Osho said transcendence is not repression. Transcendence is a natural outgrowing. You grow above, you go beyond. So by the end of the 50s, these figures had emerged independently. Their teachings didn't always align. They weren't part of a shared tradition as well. But together, they were reshaping the modern spiritual landscape, shifting the focus from religious identity to direct personal experience. In 1960, India was a young, newly independent nation. And now spirituality was no longer limited to forests or hidden ashrams. It was entering cities, crossing borders, and even appearing on television. One of the most widely recognized figures of this period was Satya Sai Baba. He declared himself the reincarnation of Shirdi Sai Baba and quickly became a subject of fascination. What drew millions towards him wasn't just his message, it was the miracles. He materialized vibhuti, sacred ash, rings, sweets, and even watches out of thin air. To some, he was divine incarnation. To others, a controversial showman. Yet beyond the spectacle, his contributions were concrete. He built free hospitals, educational institutions, and massive drinking water projects. Meanwhile, in Pune, Osho was creating a radically different spiritual space. In the early 1970s, he established an ashram unlike any traditional center. He created a method of dynamic meditation. It was a combination of shouting, crying, dancing, laughing, followed by deep silence. The idea was to release suppressed emotions and bypass mental conditioning. By the 80s, Osho's reach extended to the West. His commune in Oregon, USA, became the center of a large-scale experiment in international living. But with his rapid expansion, he started being surrounded with some legal controversies and political clashes. And eventually, he was deported back to India from the United States in 1985. Coming back to 1975, Jiddu Krishnamurti is still continuing his self-aware revolution. Though he rejected all organized belief and systems of the society, government still sought his presence. In 1975, during the emergency, Indira Gandhi invited him for a private meeting. According to those present, he didn't speak of politics. He asked her one question. Can you look into the root of fear? Meanwhile, the technique of Vipassana was quietly taking root in India. In the late 1960s, S.N. Goenka returned to India and began offering 10-day courses of complete silence. No speaking, no reading, no rituals, only observation of breath and sensation. By the 80s and 90s, Vipassana centers had spread globally, quietly introducing Buddhist insight to modern seekers. And around the same time, the teachings of H.W.L. Punja has also begun to reach beyond India. Though Papaji himself remained rooted in Lucknow, his message of Advaita Vedanta, non-duality, began to travel with his students, named Munji and Gangaji. He didn't offer a method or progressive path. Instead, he said, "You are already the Buddha." Together, these figures marked a shift in Indian spirituality. And by 1990, Indian spiritual teachers weren't just responding to the India curiosity, they were shaping it. During the 90s, one of the most prominent spiritual figures was Asharam Bapu. Born in 1941, he left home at an early age in the search of spiritual truth. Eventually, he came into contact with Lalji Maharaj, which resulted in a turning point in his journey. In the early 1970s, Asharam established his first ashram. And by the 90s, he had built a vast network of spiritual centers across India. His satsangs attracted thousands. His voice echoed through loudspeakers in towns and remote villages. He emphasized on celibacy, self-restraint, and religious discipline. But over time, his growing influence came under scrutiny. In 2013, he was arrested after serious allegations of rape, and after that, in 2018, he was convicted of sexual assault and sentenced to life imprisonment. Despite the conviction, a significant section of his followers remained loyal, continuing to see him not as a convict but as a spiritual master. But in the same decade, there was one more figure who was spreading positivity and creating a different kind of legacy, away from the public spotlight or any media. Nirmal Singh Maharaj, locally known as Chhatarpur Wale Baba, started gaining popularity in the 90s in Delhi, especially among South Delhi people. There were no large events or international tours, no advertising, no miracles. His teachings were simple: daily discipline, selfless service, and inner stillness. And when he passed away in 2007, there were no headlines, only silent mourning and whispered stories shared among devotees. A legacy not of spectacle, but of quiet impact. As we look back on the lives of these spiritual figures, one thing stands out. Each walked a path shaped by their own unique experience. For some, their paths may have sparked controversy, but faith in a guru is a deeply subjective matter. No single person can be blamed for the entire revolution. In the end, it's us who choose which path to follow. As Jiddu Krishnamurti wisely said, truth is a pathless land. So do we truly need a guru to seek the truth? Or is the answer already within us? Let the wisdom go viral, and may it inspire a deeper awakening within us all.